Good morning to one and all. And today's version, it is about the chapter appearing over here. It is public finance or physical economics. The term public finance is an older term, and the newer one, it is physical economics, but the content is same only. So what is this physical or public? That is expenditure incurred by the common or a public authority upon the people. The expense or expenditure involved by either the central government, state government or local body authority upon the people, and mostly and how they are spending their money upon the people with various resources. That is the collective social needs, not individual needs. Not individual problem they are taking into account. They are taking into account the social problem, common problem of the people, and they are trying to provide solution from the amount or from the money they gathered from the people. So that's why from the people they are collecting and upon the people they are spending. In both ways, the benefit goes to the people only, not to the authorities heavily. So the meaning of physical economics, it is about the expenditure or the amount of resources is ready to spend for the common social welfare needs of the people. That is, the program and policy related with all this are called as a public finance or physical economics. Now, this physical economics is having subject matter or scope in the following manner. One, it is a public revenue, and another one is a public expenditure, public debt, financial administration, physical policy. 5 components we are having. And what are the 5 components? Public revenue. So the ways and means of raising resources or funds to meet the expenditure. I'll repeat once again. The ways and means of a public authority raising funds to meet the expenses upon the people, that is coming under public revenue. And that public revenue on the extreme side we are having, it is having 2 divisions. One, it is tax revenue, and another one is non-tax revenue. Tax revenue and another one is non-tax revenue, that we are going to see after a few minutes. So public revenue, it is dealing with this. And public expenditure, the resources obtained by the authorities are spent upon the people for various welfare activities or some developmental schemes. That is spend resources by the authority, public authorities upon the people, that is coming under public expenditure. And the third aspect, suppose the amount of revenue is insufficient. The amount of revenue is insufficient to meet and carry on all developmental activities, then they are short of resources or funds. And how they have to compensate it? This is through borrowing. கடன் யார்தான் வாங்குறது இல்ல, தனியார் கடன் வாங்குறான், குரூப் கடன் வாங்குறான், அரசாங்கம் கடன் வாங்குது. So public debt, it is about the raising fund either locally or internally or externally. இந்த 3 விதத்துல பாத்தீங்கன்னாலும் 3லயும் பிரச்சனை இருக்கு. How we are managing the debt management. கடனை வாங்கிட்டு கடனை திருப்பி செலுத்தலன்னா நமக்கு பிரச்சனை. கடனை வாங்கி டைமுக்குள்ள திருப்பி செலுத்தணும்னா we are well safe and secure. So public debt. And then financial administration. So financial administration, we are preparing about the revenue and expenditure for the oncoming year part of it. It is equal to budget. So public budget, they are preparing public budget. So the expected expenditure which the public authorities are going to undertake upon the people will be estimated, and accordingly they have to raise the necessary income part of it, that is coming under financial administration. And the final one, physical policy. Under physical policy, in mobilizing the resources by the public authority, they have to procure that fund by taxing the people, and simultaneously by spending they are providing some sort of reduction and concession in the form of subsidy. So those who are coming under that physical policy. So these are the scope of physical or subject matter. Now coming over to that public finance is having 2 kind of division. One, it is private finance, and another one is public finance. Private finance and another one is public finance. So what is a private finance? Mostly individual and group of individual, some enterprises, and they are raising fund for receiving maximum amount of benefit out of it, that we call it as profit. So that is private financing. And public financing, it is on behalf of the people. See the word we are using, it is on behalf of the people. Some central authority is raising fund and providing welfare schemes upon the people. That is coming under public finance, and mostly it is under the control of government. Government at the center for the nation, government at the state for the state level, and the local body will be having Panchayat Union, Panchayat and Panchayat Development Board, like that is the authority for it. So these are the two type of finance. And in the two type of finance, there is some amount of similarity, some amount of dissimilarity. Some amount of similarity, both are similar, rationality. From their resources, they are using the resources in a rational way. And what is the rational way? In the sense the available resources are utilized in order to have the maximum benefit out of it. அப்ப கிடைக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு அந்த ஆதாரத்தை பயன்படுத்தி மக்களுக்கு அதிக விதமாக நன்மையை செலுத்துவது, நன்மையை தருவது தான் இவங்களோட நோக்கம், rationality. And limited to borrowing. That borrowing capacity of private and borrowing capacity of public is limited, and there is a limit for borrowing. And when we are able to repay the loan, we are able to borrow. When it is not possible to repay the loan and we are somewhat hesitate to borrow the amount, so there is a constraint limitation in borrowing capacity. Both are similar and their restriction is limited over here. And resources utilization and maximum the available resource, they have to use it with a profit motive by private and service motive by public, and then profit motive by the public. So the available resource, the available fund, they have to provide maximum amount of happiness and welfare and well-being upon the people. So these are the similarity, both are. And dissimilarity, the very first one will be having income adjustment, income and expenditure adjustment, income and expenditure adjustment. Normally, a private finance people will calculate that income, and according to that they will spend the expenditure. See the difference between data private and public. It is the private financing people, they will calculate the ways and means of acquiring fund, that is the income, and what are the ways they can spend, what are the means, what are the sources we can spend upon it. They will, and this is about private. So private will do adjustment with the income along with expenditure, but public is, they will estimate the expenditure, according to the estimate of expenditure they will raise the income. இதான் சொல்றது, சட்டைக்கு துணி வாங்குறதுல உடம்புக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி தைக்கணும். உடம்பை நம்ம சுருக்க முடியாது, துணியை குறைச்சலா வாங்கிட்டு உடம்பை சுருக்க முடியாது. இதுதான் இந்த கதை கவர்மெண்ட்டுக்கு வர்றது. Next, it is borrowing is limited. Borrowing is limited. Private from the neighborhood, within internally they can borrow, and government internally they can borrow, from the people they can borrow, and sometimes external they can borrow. When they are borrowing externally, when they are not in a position to repay it, that will have a feedback and reflection upon that society people, the form of running the government in the international arena. That is why borrowing is also a dissimilarity upon the both financing people. And then printing of currency, printing of currency. A private finance people cannot print currency, but government can print currency. But even that printing of currency, it is heavily done. That will lead to deficit financing. Deficit financing. And in their objective, private is aiming to get a maximum amount of welfare and with profit, and government is maximum amount of welfare, then only a limited amount of benefit and everything. And present future objective decision. So what is the present future? And private will be looking upon very short term, how much they are investing, how much they are spending, they must have a return very in a quicker term. And whereas government will be having a future plan, long term perspective they will be having. So these are connected with the private finance and public finance, similarity and dissimilarity. Now we are moving to the second concept of it, which is appearing on the subject matter, public expenditure. So what is this public expenditure? The amount incurred, the ways and means, the raised fund is utilized upon the people is called public expenditure. The expenses incurred upon the people for any kind of improvement and developmental activity is called public expenditure. Now the public expenditure is having some classification in two types. One, it is classification is based on benefit. பயன் பொறுத்து ஒரு பிரிவு மாறுது. So classification is based on benefit. So on the basis of receiving some amount of satisfaction, some amount of happiness and advancement, we'll be having three category and 4 category we are having. Entire society. So the benefit will goes to that of entire society. It is one thing. Defense. Take the case of defense. It is not particular to one or two group of people only. It is to the whole nation. The whole people are getting the defense and the benefit of defense from the government. So entire society is getting benefit out of that defense. It is a common public expenditure spent by the government. And then special benefits to some individuals, and at the same time it will benefit to common, it will benefit to all the people. Administration of justice. Special benefit to some people, and at the same time the entire society is getting benefit out of it. And there is a common benefit to all the people. Common benefit to all the people. Every people will have the benefit, and there are some people will have a peculiar and special benefit. It is another category. And finally, some special benefit to some group of people, and some group of people will get a limited amount of benefit out of this based on this benefit nature. Now coming out to that next level, it is based on function. நடைமுறையில் நிகழக்கூடிய ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சி. அதுல வரும்போது protective function, commercial function, development function. Protective function, commercial function and development function. What is the protective function? The government or the public authority is providing security, safety to the people. Security, safety to the people. For security and safety, they are spending heavy amount of money, and very particularly the example is defense, law and order within internal level. Defense through the nation part of it, and law and order it is locally, internally. And commercial function for developmental work. These are some of the essential things the government or the public authority has to provide the users of the common people. One such thing, it is trade and commerce, very particularly construction of road. It is majority of the users are getting benefit out of it. So it is a development, commercial. And by doing that construction of road, they are enabling the easy way of trade and commerce to develop, and there will be income raising concept out of it. So commercial function. And another one, development infrastructure facility. Infrastructural facilities in the sense will be having education, public health, construction of hospitals, and even some bank and trading commission agent levels, all those things. Infrastructure. Kattumana panigal, the constructional part of the activity will enable on the basis of the function part of it. Now, the next level will be having reason for public expenditure. Why the common authorities has to spend heavily upon the people? What is the reason out of it? These are the following thing. Number 1, ever growing population. So the number is keep on developing. From the time of our population enumeration, the population is keep on developing, and the population is developing, it needs many things, and the public authority has to spend. And then defense purpose, and every part of the nation has to protect for self and as well as from foreign aggression. They need a defense force, and the defense force should be not orthodox and outmoded. So then and there we have to modernize. Then and there we have to modernize the defense force. And formerly in the defense we are having some old method of weapons and everything, and the old methods of weapons are outmoded, and it is not equally matched with the increasing level of external threat. So we like to equip ourselves with modern machineries, modern weapon and other machineries. And then governmental subsidies. So some group of poor sections of the people, they are not able to make their living. So the government is doing some amount of concession that is coming under subsidies. So the provision of subsidies also a public expenditure, it is the reason. And then debt servicing. கடன் வாங்கியாச்சு, ஏன்னா இது கடன்றதை மட்டும்தான் கொஞ்சம் தமிழில் கொண்டு வரேன். கடன் வாங்கியாச்சு, அரசாங்கம் கடன் வாங்கிட்டு அந்த கடனை திருப்பி கொடுக்கணும். அந்த கடனை திருப்பி கொடுக்கறதுக்கு மக்கள்கிட்ட தான் கையேந்தணும். மக்கள்கிட்ட ரைசிங் ஆஃப் பாண்டு. அடுத்ததெல்லாம் என்ன பண்ணா வெளிநாட்டில் கையேந்தணும். வெளிநாட்டில் கையேந்தணும்னா பணத்தை கொடுக்கலன்னா அவன் அசிங்கப்படுத்திடுவான். அப்ப டெப்ட் சர்வீசிங் ஃபார் த ரிடம்ஷன் ஆஃப் லோன், ஃபார் த ரிடம்ஷன் ஆஃப் ரீபேயிங் த லோன் The government is happen to do some public expenditure heavily. Then urbanization, industrialization, both I will take on. So everybody wants to live happily with a beautiful job opportunity, and the job opportunity is not available within their neighborhood. They are likely to move some of the towns and cities, and already there is a population in the towns and cities, and already there is some industries are existing, and the newly accommodated people are keep on moving heavily. So they are making that migration of newly people leading to that of heavy amount of urbanization. Population growth is there. When population growth is there, this urbanizing people migrate from town, agriculture area to the industrial area. They need housing facilities, employment facilities, recreation facilities, and educational facilities, and other related things. For all other related things, common problem, the government is spending. So expenditure is increasing. And finally, we'll be having grants in aid. And this word grants in aid, this is a central to state and state to local authorities. Now we take the local authorities. The local authorities are raising fund, common fund, and the fund is not sufficient. To complete the particular task part of it. So they are requiring some additional help from the state. And simultaneously, the state is requiring additional, and very particularly irrigation project. Suppose we take a village, and the village panchayat is happen to do pure and proper drinking water, adequate size, adequate level to all the people. So they need to lay up all the irrigation potentiality by way of taxing the people, and the tax amount is not sufficient to lay up the pipes and other required things, and they will be looking for extra support and additional help from the state government. And that similarly, the state government is looking upon the central, and the support and additional received from the hierarchy by the lower one is the grants in aid to compensate the gap happen in carrying on the project. The compensation happened in carrying on the fulfillment of the project. Without projects start பண்ணிட்டு ஐயோ எங்கள்கிட்ட நிதி வசதி இல்ல போட்டோம் நிதி வசதி இல்ல அப்படின்றதுல ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது. அதனால that is coming over here. Okay, now the next aspect of it is public revenue. The ways and means of raising resources and funds. Resources and funds is happen upon that public revenue. That public revenue is categorized into two divisions. One it is tax revenue and another one is non-tax revenue. Now we'll take what is tax revenue. Tax is a compulsory payment. By a person to the authorities, levied by the public authorities. The citizen or person has to pay. It is a compulsory payment. We cannot avoid it. And another one, it is obligation. It is some privileges and charges. They are doing some services. The public authority is doing some services. For the services, the beneficiary has to pay some amount of charges. That is coming under non-tax revenue. So these are the two ways of receiving public revenue. Now coming to that tax revenue, will be having direct tax and indirect tax. I will come to the next level, direct tax and indirect tax. These are some of the taxes. And non-tax revenue is having the following things. Fees, fines, earnings from government sector, special assessment, gift and grants, aid and checks. Now what is all these things? Fees, it is about for carrying on some services and obligation, the beneficiary has to be charged a limited amount of fees. That is, suppose you are like to acquire passport. It is up to your privilege, that passport. And passport services charges is coming under fees. And fines, it is about violation of law. And very particularly, you will be heard about it with us 144, the common curfew part of it. We should not come out of the house. And there are some people are violating it, and they are trapped by law and order people, and they are fined. So this is a fine, and that fine is to the tune of 18 point some lakhs they have collected, it seems. So the final one under this non-tax revenue, it is S-cheats. And the S-cheats is a person who dies without any legal heir. A person who dies without any legal heir, or he has not written any will of document. So that particular resource will be taken by the public authorities. That is S-cheats. Okay. Now coming to the top, principles of taxation. The next level will be having principles of taxation, canons of taxation or principles of taxation. So it is having 4 canons. First canon, it is a canon of equity or ability, canon of certainty, and canon of convenience, and finally canon of economy. Now what is the first canon? Canon of equity and ability. And everybody has to contribute the paying of tax. Whether rich or poor, they have to contribute in paying the tax. It's a compulsory payment. But in contributing, according to the ability, the persons are contributing. The rich is contributing more and the poor is contributing less. So it satisfies both. So canon of equity and canon of certainty. The taxpayer should know when to submit his returns and how to submit and at what rate he is taxed upon his income part of it. He will be knowing about it. So the taxpayer will be knowing about when to submit, where you have to submit it, and how much calculation of taxation and the rate of calculation, and everything will be known black and white. That is certainty. Even the government will be knowing through a particular tax how much revenue is accrue, is known to the public authorities. And then convenience, canon of convenience. So in collection of tax and levying tax, the government should have a convenient time without burdening the payer. They have to collect the tax. That is convenient. So when people are having more income, when agriculture people are having blossoming crop, when people are having more amount of income, during the time the government is started doing collection of tax, it is easy for the people to pay the tax without any risk or problem. That is why canon of convenience. And canon of economy. What is this canon of economy? The cost of collection of tax, cost of collection of should not be higher than the tax amount. The cost of collecting the tax should not higher in the tax amount. That is economy. These are the 5 canons has to be looked upon while they are doing the public revenue. Now coming to that of tax, it's a compulsory payment. It's having 2 component part of it, direct tax and indirect tax. Now what is a direct tax? It is a tax levied by the public authority, and the on whom the tax is levied, that person is able to pay the amount. That is direct tax. Example is wealth tax, income tax. Wealth tax and income tax. Now the second one is indirect tax. The tax is levied and at the first level somebody is paying, and it will be transferred to another one and another one, and finally it is rest upon one who is using this particular benefit is paying the tax. That is indirect tax. And the example, it is about sales tax. Sales tax. Alright. So in this, whether it is a direct tax, whether it is indirect tax, 3 things we have to note it. One, it is incidence, impact, and shifting. So whether it is a direct tax, whether it is indirect tax, 3 things we have to note it. Incidence, impact, and shifting. What is incident? The very beginning, the first level, the tax is imposed on what, for whom? That is incidence. And the imposed tax is, that is the incident tax, is fall upon final burden. Final burden is upon the person. It is impact. And in between, the transferring of tax from one person to another person, the transferring of tax is called shifting. These are the 3 things will happen in the 2 type of taxes. Now coming to the top, a comparison between direct tax and income tax in the following manner. A comparison between direct tax and indirect tax, a comparison. Meaning, the tax imposed, it falls upon the person, and the same person has to pay it. It falls on the person initially and it is shifted to some other person. And nature, it is progressive in nature, it is regressive in nature. As income increases, it will also increases. As it is decreases, it will also decreases. And incidence and impact, it fall on the same person, it fall on the different person. And tax base, ஆதாரம் என்ன அப்படின்னு பார்க்கும்போது it is falls on wealth and income is the base. And whereas here indirect tax, sales, purchase and manufacture items are coming over here. That is the base of it. And is it possible to avoid the tax to quite some amount of evasion, வரிய கட்டாம இருக்கலாமா, ஏமாத்தலாமா அப்படின்னு சொன்னா there is possibility in that direct tax and there is not a little amount of not possible in the indirect tax. And inflation, general level of raising prices, it can control inflation and it pushes the inflation. And burden not shifted, என்னோட சுமைய என்னோட வருமான வரிய பின்ன எனக்கு எடுத்துட்டு இருக்க நம்ம போட்டோகிராஃபரை வந்து ஏங்க நான் வருமான வரி கட்டணும், எங்க வரியை நீங்க கட்டுங்கன்னா அவர் கட்டுவாரா? இட்ஸ் நாட் ஷிஃப்டட், பட் சைமல்டேனியஸ்லி indirect tax is shifted and that tax amount is included in the price concept of it. And normally when you are buying that any of the commodity, local price included. There is a word local price, MRP plus local price included, and we are partially paying the tax. And then collection, the tax is collected from the same person, the tax is collected from different person. How it is? Initially the manufacturers of a commodity pay the tax and he transfer the tax amount to the wholesaler. The wholesaler will transfer to the retailer and the retailer will transfer to the final consumer. That is the transfer part of it. And my dear students, nearly 4 chapters are completed. Now at this very crucial level, though you are very leisurely in your house, try to have a little trouble in looking upon the textbook and try to read that answers for 2 mark and 3 mark and try to have a little part of assignment. When there is a school is opening, submit that assignment. Basing on it, your internal mark will be calculated. Thank you.